Okay, so in this video, you're going to be able to find the sum of the sequence. The first example I'm just going to give you is a finite sequence. So when you're finding the sum, you're just adding all your terms together. Finite means this one just ends. It goes from 1 to 9, and there's nothing continuing after. So to find the sum, I'm going to add my terms up together. So 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 7 is 16, plus 9 is 25. So the sum of this finite sequence is 25. But you're going to be given an infinite sequence, which means they're just going to be dot, dot, dots, and they're going to ask you to find the sum of the first 75 terms, and you're going to need some formulas. So the first formula you were already given, where you're finding the nth term of the sequence, and then over here is your sum of the sequence formula. Where n means the same thing as it does here, the number of terms. A1 is your first term, an is the last term, and you just divide it all by 2. So to find the sum of the terms of an arithmetic sequence, you're going to first have to find the nth term. So you're going to use this formula here. And then you're going to plug that value in and the rest of the values into the sum formula. So this one takes a couple extra steps. It's not hard. It just takes a little longer. So our first example here is to find the sum of the first 27 terms of our arithmetic sequence given. So the first thing we know is 27 is our n. They're telling us the first 27 terms. We can also determine that our A1, our first term here, is 5. We already know our n is 27, and our d is the common difference, so how you get from one term to the next. So I'm adding 3 every time. So 5 plus 3 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11, 11 plus 3 is 14. So my d is 3. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what that 27th term is, because I can't find the sum without it. So I'm going to say a of 27 is my a1, which is 5, plus n minus 1, 27 minus 1, times my d of 3. Do not forget this plus sign here. That's the most common mistake given. So, clean it up. 5 plus 26 times 3. Now you can plug that all into your calculator. 5 plus 26 times 3 is 83. So my 27th term is 83. Now my second step is to find the sum of that term. So I'm going to use the formula in my second step. S of n equals n times a1 plus an all over 2. And I realize I forgot the equal sign there. So now I'm just going to plug in all the important information I need. N is the number of terms, which is 27. My first term was 5. The term I looked for was 83. And I divide it by 2. Clean it up just a little bit. 5 plus 83 is 88. And divide it all by 2. Plug that into your calculator. And you get 1,188. So if you were to add up all the terms from your first to your 27th term, the sum would be 1,188. All right, let's try one more together. The next one says find the sum of the first 13 terms. Right away we know 13 is our n. To find the sum of the first 13 terms, I need to figure out what that 13th term is when I keep going. So my first term is 2. My common difference, so I notice I add 5 every time, so d is 5. And then I'm just going to use my formula to find the nth term. I'm trying to find the 13th term. So a1 plus n minus 1 times d. a1 was 2, plus my number of terms, which is 13 minus 1, times my d of 5. Clean it up. And your 13th term will be 62. So now from here, I can use this 62 to plug into the sum formula. So my second step is the sum formula, which is n times my first term, the last term, and divided by 2. My number of terms was 13. My first term was 2. My last term we just solved for was 62. And I divided by 2. 13 times 64, divide by 2. Is 416. So the sum of my first 13 terms, if I kept going and added all of them up together, would be 416.